The spotlight was blinding. I could see his silhouette on the stage, projected onto a giant screen. Thousands of people in the auditorium, and millions more watching the livestream, all waiting to hear about my discovery. From the mouth of the man who stole it. He was smiling, soaking in the applause, completely unaware that I was 50 feet away in the control room, my finger hovering over the single key that would burn his legacy to the ground. He had stolen my future, so I was about to delete his. Have you ever poured your heart, your soul, and years of your life into something, only to have someone else snatch the credit with a smile? If you know that burning, helpless feeling of injustice, and you believe that sometimes, karma needs a little digital push in the right direction, then you're in for a treat. Hit that like button and subscribe, because today, justice isn't just served, it's broadcast live to the entire world. My story starts 5 years ago. My name is Leo, and back then, I wasn't a man with a revenge plan. I was just a PhD student with a dream. Since I was a kid, I'd look up at the night sky and not just see stars, I saw possibilities. Other worlds. Unanswered questions. That passion led me to astrophysics and, more importantly, to Professor Wallace. Professor Wallace wasn't just a guide, he was my idol. He was the kind of man who commanded a room with his intelligence and charm. He took me under his wing, and I felt like the luckiest student alive. I'd spend 18-hour days in the lab, surviving on coffee and instant noodles, fueled by his encouragement. Leo, he'd say, putting a hand on my shoulder, your mind sees things differently. You're going to change the world. I believed him. I trusted him completely. And I did it. After years of chasing dead ends and running countless simulations, I had a breakthrough. A real one. I developed an algorithm that could analyze the light from distant stars to detect atmospheric biosignatures on their orbiting planets. It wasn't just theory, it was a practical method with a 99% accuracy rate. It was the key to finding life in the universe. It was my life's work, condensed into a 300-page thesis. I remember the day I handed it to him. My hands were trembling with excitement. "Professor," I said, "I think this is it." He took the manuscript, his eyes scanning the title. He didn't smile. He just gave a slow, thoughtful nod. "Leave it with me, Leo. I'll review it. This needs careful handling. Don't speak of it to anyone yet. We want to make sure it's perfect before we reveal it." The word made my heart soar. That was the last time I felt that way. A month went by. Then two. Whenever I asked about my thesis, he'd brush me off. "Patience, Leo. Great things take time." He started avoiding my calls, canceling our meetings. A cold dread began to creep into my stomach. The confirmation came on a Tuesday morning. I saw an article on a major science news website. The headline read, "Professor Wallace unveils revolutionary method to detect extraterrestrial life." The air left my lungs. I clicked the link. And there it was. My work. My charts, my equations, my exact phrasing, all under his name. He hadn't changed a single word. He had just replaced Leo Vance with his own name. He was being hailed as the next Carl Sagan. I ran to his office, the article burning on my phone screen. I didn't even knock. He was on the phone, laughing. He saw me, and his smile vanished. He ended the call. "Professor, how could you?" My voice was barely a whisper. He leaned back in his chair, the picture of arrogance. "Leo, you're a talented student, but you're naive. Your data was promising, but it was incomplete. I had to refine it. Give it the gravitas it needed to be taken seriously." "Refine it? You stole it. Every single word." And then, his face hardened. The mask of the kind mentor fell away, revealing something ugly and cruel beneath. "Be very careful what you say next," he hissed, his voice low and dangerous. "I am a respected academic. You are a nobody. Who do you think they will believe? You accuse me of this, and I will personally see to it that you never work in this field again. Your career will be over before it even starts." Now get out of my office." I stumbled out of his office, completely broken. He was right. It was my word against his. He had the power, the reputation. I had nothing. For weeks, I was a ghost. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. The stars I once loved now seemed to mock me from the sky. He hadn't just stolen my work, he'd stolen my spirit. The turning point came late one night. I was scrolling aimlessly through the internet when I saw it. An announcement for the Global Science Symposium in Geneva. The keynote speaker? Professor Wallace. The topic? My research. The event was going to be live-streamed to every major university and research institution on the planet. Millions would be watching. He was going to stand on the world's biggest stage and build his legacy on top of my soul. And that's when the grief inside me finally burned away, leaving something else in its place: cold, hard, calculating rage. He was right about one thing. He was an academic. He understood prestige, not programming. He had stolen my data, but he didn't understand the intricate code that underpinned it all. He could read the sheet music, but he couldn't play the instrument. And I built the damn instrument. A plan began to form in my mind. It was audacious. It was risky. And it would be the sweetest justice I could possibly imagine. I wasn't going to fight him in the court of academic opinion. I was going to be the judge, jury, and executioner in the court of public humiliation. For the next month, my lab became my war room. I didn't sleep, but this time it was from adrenaline, not despair. I started coding. I designed a beautiful piece of malware. A digital dagger. It wasn't a brutish virus that would crash the system. That was too crude. My creation was elegant. A logic bomb timed to perfection. It would hide dormant inside the presentation file, invisible to any security scan. It would only activate when a specific set of conditions were met, on the exact date and time of the conference, and only when the presentation entered full-screen mode. The payload was simple, yet devastating. On my command, it wouldn't delete anything. It would replace it. Every key data point, every graph, every stunning image of a distant galaxy would be instantly swapped out with a few simple lines of text. Getting it into his presentation was the easy part. I knew he was arrogant and a little lazy with technology. I sent him an email from a fake address, posing as the conference's IT department. The email stated there was a new presentation template required for compatibility with their broadcast system, and it was attached. He downloaded it without a second thought. The Trojan horse was inside the city walls. The day of the conference arrived. I used a visitor's pass I'd secured weeks earlier to get into the venue. I made my way to the back of the auditorium, to the audiovisual control room, and found a dark corner where no one would notice me. I opened my laptop, tapped into the local network, and watched. My heart was hammering against my ribs. This was it. No turning back. And so, after years of dedicated research, we have arrived at this watershed moment. A new dawn for astrophysics. Now, for the first time, I will show you the results. The proof. The key to finding life beyond our world. On my screen, I watched him click to the next slide. His money shot. The culmination of my life's work. His face was smug, triumphant. He opened his mouth to speak. That's when I pressed enter. On the giant screen behind Professor Wallace, my beautiful graphs and data vanished. In their place, in giant, stark white letters against a black background, were the words. This original research was conducted by Leo Vance. Professor Wallace froze. His smile evaporated. Confusion washed over his face. He tapped his clicker, but the slide didn't change. He looked back at the screen, his eyes widening in horror as a second line of text appeared beneath the first. For proof, visit the link below. And there it was. A direct link to my personal blog, where my entire time-stamped thesis had been sitting for months, waiting. The silence in the auditorium was deafening. Then, a murmur started. People were pulling out their phones, their laptops. The live chat on the stream was exploding. The murmur grew into a roar of shock and outrage. Professor Wallace's face went from white to red to a sickly shade of gray. He was exposed. A fraud. On the biggest stage imaginable. He opened and closed his mouth like a fish out of water, but no sound came out. His legacy hadn't just been questioned, it had been publicly executed. I closed my laptop, packed my bag, and walked out of the control room. I didn't feel a rush of ecstatic joy. I felt quiet. I felt a profound sense of relief. A weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying had been lifted. He didn't steal my work to advance science, he did it for glory. And I didn't expose him for revenge, I did it for the truth. And in the end, the truth was all that mattered. Professor Wallace was fired, his awards were revoked, and he became a permanent cautionary tale in the academic world. And me? I got my credit back, and then some. If watching that public takedown gave you a shot of pure satisfaction, prove it by smashing that like button. And let us know in the comments, what do you think is the most fitting punishment for someone who steals another person's dream? And of course, for more of the most satisfying revenge stories from across the internet, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next.